Hi, welcome to another episode of Denise Cooks for Diabetics. Today we're making something that, for me, is for special occasions. Italian bread. There is nothing like homemade bread once you start to make it, let me tell you. So, of course, Christmas is coming and my children love this, so this is what I'm doing. I'm going to make a loaf and a couple of little rolls. Oh my goodness, there's live TV. So here we have, for our Italian bread, 5 cups of flour. This is just regular all-purpose flour. 1 tablespoon of salt. Mine is Himalayan, that's why it's pink. 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. And I have a heaping cap full of my favorite spice mix that I've showed so many times, the garlic and onion by Dan Gold. You don't have to do this, but it really comes out great when it's seasoned. Okay, that's my dry ingredients. I just have a little extra flour here. We're going to need it for the counter. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which we will mix in here. And our dry yeast. 2 1/4 teaspoons of dry yeast. If your yeast comes in packages, then it will be 1 package. And then a teaspoon of brown sugar, which you need to activate the yeast. We're going to eventually later add 2 cups of warm water. We're going to add 1/2 cup now to our yeast. And then we'll need to let the yeast rise. So what I do is, in the summertime, I will put the bowl in the garage because it's warm and that will rise really nicely. Now in the winter, it's kind of cool in the house, so I'm going to turn my oven on, and then I will put the bowl with the yeast in it on top of my oven and cover it with a towel for just a little while so it warms up. Now the water has to be 110 degrees thereabouts. I just judge it by my hand. If it's too hot for the baby, then it's too hot for your yeast. It's got to be warm, but not too hot. So those of you who tested the milk on our wrist, you'll know what I mean. If you have a thermometer, that's great, but I don't have a thermometer. I don't make bread that much, so I really don't want it to be too convenient for me because it's not really that good for me. Okay, I think that is good right there. So we're going to do 1/2 cup. And then I like to use a whisk because it really whisks it really nicely. So I add my 1/2 cup. I give it a whisk. It smells like Cheerios, the yeast. Okay, and then I'm going to put it aside for about 10 minutes. And we'll come back and we'll see it gets all frothy. Hi, we're back. Our yeast, can you see that? It's so frothy and so activated. Our bread's going to be awesome. Okay, so we're ready to start mixing. I don't have a mixer, so we're going to mix it by hand totally for about 7 minutes. I mix it up until it's nice and incorporated, then I knead it for a couple of minutes. So we'll get started doing that. I need to get some more warm water so I can add it to my mixture. And then we'll start mixing everything. Where's the warm water when you need it? Okay, all right, here it comes. All right, very good. Perfect. Okay, so 1.5 cups because we already have 1/2 cup when we activated our yeast. Okay? All right, clean hands. Pour in my yeast, olive oil, my salt and my brown sugar and my seasonings are already in there, and the rest of the water. Okay, it smells delicious. Okay, we're going to give it a nice mix. Once it starts to kind of clump together, I'll pour it out on the counter. I'll keep doing it with my hand. I think that's going to work fine. Okay. I have my extra flour here, which I'm going to knead. I think I'm going to get some of this that's stuck on my hand off for for now. Okay, there we go. We'll give it a little bit of a stir with this. There we go. Okay. It's coming together very nicely. We're almost ready to pour it out. This smells so good. Now what I also do with my bread, when I make homemade bread, I'll use it when I make meatballs or a meatloaf. There's nothing like fresh bread. And being a diabetic, if I'm going to eat bread, I want it to be really good. And the best way to make it really good for me is to make it myself. Okay, here we're ready to do this now. Let's pour some on here. My hand is pretty gloppy, so I hope to get some of that off. Okay. See, you don't need a bread mixer. Just do it by hand. It comes out great. You shall see. So like I said, first I just need to mix it well. Once I just keep stirring it up like this and mixing it, eventually we will start to knead it. All right, so we'll come back in a couple of minutes when it's more incorporated. Okay, so I've been kneading this, mixing it first, then kneading it for about 5 minutes. I'm going to do it for another minute or two. As you see, we use a lot of the extra flour that was in here. So you need almost an extra cup, if not more, because to me it felt very tacky. And when it starts sticking to my hands, then I know that I have to add a little flour to my hands or to my counter. So basically you push and flip, push and flip, push and flip. That's basically how you knead bread. And it really feels so good in your hands. It's warm and the smell is so awesome. To me, it's kind of almost like meditating, you know, doing a repetitive motion over and over again. I can't think of the word right now for that. Okay, so once we have this done, which I think it is, I'm going to put it in a large bowl that I filled with olive oil. Make my nice little mound. I love this. It smells so delicious. Okay, so I plop it down, swirl it around, and then turn it over, swirl it around. Then I have my oven turned on again because it's cool in the house. I'm going to put a damp towel over this and place it on top of my oven for an hour and a half so it can rise. In about 10 minutes I will turn off my oven and it will stay warm for the duration. Don't leave your oven on. Just about 10 minutes. Okay? So cover it with my damp towel and I put it on my oven and I will see you in an hour and a half. And this will double in size. Okay, our bread has been rising for an hour and a half in the oiled bowl. Now we're going to do our second kneading. Okay, is that beautiful or what? Okay, I'm going to cut it in half. Well, first I'm going to dump it out on my flour. Oh, is that gorgeous? My daughter's side in the background. Okay, now, okay, here's my knife. I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to make rolls out of one side, and then a loaf out of the other side. Okay, so I'll do that off camera, the rolls. So then we have to knead this again for just a couple of minutes. Couple of minutes. We do our second kneading, and then we pour it into our loaf pan. No, we don't do that. We don't pour it into our loaf pan because we're not making white bread, we're making Italian bread. So we put it on a cookie sheet upside down with parchment paper. I'll show you that again later. So we're going to knead this for a couple of minutes. And you'll hear sometime as you're kneading it, there's a snap inside. And that means the air bubbles, there it goes, I just had the snap. That means the air bubbles are popping, so you're not going to get a big air bubble in your bread. Okay, so I'm going to knead this for another minute or so. Okay, let's say I did it for 2 minutes, okay? I kneaded it for 2 minutes. We're going to form it into our loaf. This kneading's just getting a little bit sticky. Okay, so we'll form it into our loaf now. It's nice and soft. The other one I'm going to cut in like 6 or 4 pieces and make little rolls. My daughter loves the little rolls. Okay. So oh, I heard another snap. Okay, I think we're good. All right. So I'm going to make it into the loaf. This is also going to double now in size. We're going to have my cookie sheet upside down with the parchment paper, and I'm going to put it on there, and then I'm going to put my rolls on here, cover it with the damp towel again, perhaps put my oven on again for a little while, and then this is going to rise the second time for a ½ hour. So I'll see you then. Okay, our bread is ready to go into the oven. Beautifully rose and the little rolls here. So what we do is we split the top. We're going to have that nice split top look. Some people put sesame seeds on this at this point, but my family doesn't like them. So you split everything. This is the important step. You put an inch or so of water in the very bottom rack of the oven. Then you put, the next rack is where you put the bread. This is what will give you the crust. We're going to bake for 425 for 35 to 40 minutes. When you knock on it and it sounds hollow, you know it's done. See you back here in about 40 minutes. So our seasoned Italian bread is done, and I wish you could smell it. It's so delicious. So I made 1 loaf and I made 6 little rolls. That came out so delicious. I'm going to cut this in half to show you how you can see the seasonings on the inside. It's nice and crusty because remember we had the pan of water to give it a nice crunch. Oh, it's smoking. It is so delicious. It's such a treat. Like I said, if you're going to have bread, you might as well have good bread. So we have our little rolls and our Italian loaf here. So until the next time, eat well, be well.